He's going to start.
I'm going to hit record and I'm going to pass you the baton. Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Good morning.
Episode 10. Are we episode 10 now?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
A little bit of it doesn't seem very much.
It doesn't
seem very much, but it is actually a lot for us.
It is.
And actually, ironically, that's the conversation we're going to have today is about best intentions.
Yes.
And ultimately, last week I shared a reel I made just with my phone of beautiful water. It was a really dull day, really overcast. And I've started my light challenge, so I am pushing myself as well to continually look for light. And I I used my phone to do a reel, and someone contacted me, and we were talking about it, and they said, "Oh, I took some pictures of the water back in Wales," and shared the pictures with me. And in no way are they a photographer. They don't claim to be a photographer. They are taking pictures of their life. And the after the pictures were shared, there was a what's that word, caveat saying, well, they're nowhere near what you create. And there was never and my response was, and this is what I've always really have felt ever since I really started creating as an artist, is that I don't believe in levels. I believe in best intentions. And with my love affair with Light 52 that's out there at the moment and running, whether you give yourself that photographer badge or don't, or you believe that you're a hobbyist or aren't, or you're making money or you're not, or it doesn't, literally, I don't want to say I don't care, but it's not something that I judge.
Yep.
It's not something that I have in my mind as to whether I believe you're good enough. People have looked at my masterclass and said, I'm not really sure whether I'm good enough. If your best intention is there, then that to me is like everything, absolutely everything.
Yep.
And I have really got to the place where I am now, because every time I show up, every time I go to create, every time I have a conversation with someone, or I start building a relationship with someone, it's always with my best intention. And I really believe that as artists, that really can a lot of the time be all we have.
Yeah.
In that moment.
Yeah.
I was talking in the last episode about making space on my phone, and going back to 2020 and 2021, and how I at the time was really heavy on myself. I was playing a lot with a lot of different techniques, but I was really heavy on myself in the fact of not really truly believing in myself, not thinking I was good enough. But I look back and I really see that there was so much beautiful, considered, creative, curious intention in every way, whether it was interacting with my kids, taking pictures of my kids, looking for light, trying different techniques. Because I realize now that a big reason why I have limited space on my phone is because I went through a phase of having my Instagram set to whenever I shared a story, it saved to my
yes, of course.
So I'm like going back and I'm deleting all of these basically Instagram stories that have saved as, image files, which actually isn't terrible, because I often share thoughts and things like that, and I'm beginning to work on a new book, and actually there's also this nuggets in the way, which is magic.
Yes.
But also the other side of it is that I can see, you know, how much work I've shared of other people's and how much community building I've done in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's all of that side of things. And that's really what, when Melinda and I talk sometimes about what we're going to talk about, I really wanted to say I'd love to us to explore and to share an insight in you, our beautiful listeners, about showing up with your best intentions, because yeah, that really is, you know, we talk about intentional, you know, thinking about things on an intentional way, yes, but actually even before that happens,
Yeah.
it's how we're showing up,
Yes.
really. So it is about the showing up, but it's how, and it's that side of it really that I sort of was like raising my hand saying, "Can we talk about this a little bit?" So
And that just makes me think of when we first said hello this morning, way before we started recording. And you said to me, "How are you?" And it's to show up with your best intentions can be really hard some days.
yeah.
But when you do have that best intention, it's actually quite healing to show up,
Mm-hmm.
because it shows you what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
You have that, like, today, you know, we're chatting, so it's like connection, and it's changing the mindset, and it's just moving things around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you do show up with your best intentions, it shows to you who you are.
Mm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that can be in anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as artists as well, and particularly as photographers, because as photographers, there's an end result.
Yeah.
And there's all of these things that happen before it. We have to charge we have to charge our batteries. We have to, you know, choose the camera and the lens and we have to decide where we're going at what time of day and what the light's doing, and you know, who we're going to take a photograph of, or what we're going to take a photograph of, and you know, and then bringing our best selves in terms of our experience and our understanding of photography and story and layers and layers and layers and layers and layers and layers. And then there's a product at the end of it, essentially. At the moment, it's in digital form, but before, obviously, it was an actual negative. So there was actually a physical, tangible product, which could then obviously be made into prints and et cetera, et cetera. Whereas, so we can go through all of this incredible process, and then that product is the bit that we often judge.
Yeah.
And I think, and this is why I'm encouraging people during my love affair with light, is even if you don't want to do it with your camera or your phone, just do it with your eyes.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean about best intentions, and that's what we're talking about. It's the best intention of I just said to Melinda before we started recording, my mum used to say to me, as long as you're doing your best, then that's great. That's all you can ask. But actually, sometimes we kind of like, we vary what our best is, because you know, depending on how. But the fact is that yes, there is a product, and yes, we can judge that, but that isn't the only part of it. You know, we judge that in terms of the success or failure of what the process we've been through.
Yeah.
And I think the best intentions comes down, and it echoes the showing up, and yes, it echoes the believe in the process. But it is that really allowing yourself that space of doing it for you and doing it without comparison of someone else as well.
Yeah.
Because this was something that when I started talking about this or thinking about this as a subject, and I talk about it a little bit in my book, but it's that you can go out with the best intentions of, like at the moment, Melinda, you're doing your project with women over 40, and I've seen that there's a couple of other similar projects happening other parts of the world, similar. And one could say, well, they're doing it, so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Or, or whether you take a picture of something and someone else Instagram exists at the moment, everyone's sharing. It might suddenly stop. It might peter out. One or the other will probably happen at some point.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why we shouldn't do something, with our best intention if somebody else somewhere else is doing it? Like, does that make our best intention not valid?
Yeah.
Or I lived when I had my little girl. We were in Dubai, and there was a friend of mine who was also a client, and she had a little girl a year before and called her Adeline with an E. And I absolutely love the name, and I do like being a little bit different. And I'm not a big fan of copying people and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, but then I thought, well, we're not necessarily always going to be in the same place.
No.
And my best intention was to give my daughter the name that I loved, and I hoped would give her an interesting life, maybe a little bit standout, maybe a little bit creative. And yeah, I had a beautiful connection to it for me, and that's the name that I wanted. So my best intention was that. If all of a sudden she's at school and she's got her best friend becomes a little girl called Adeline, then I can't do anything about it. And so it's this sort of gentle, and it's such a contrast, isn't it? Because we were just talking, Melinda and I recorded 2 podcasts back to back. But last week we were talking about being in the arena, which felt a little bit rougher and rawer. And although not every time you go in the arena is a big bloody fight, muddy, dirty, but sometimes it is. And yet I feel by beautiful contrast, this episode is a bit more gentle. And that's what we are really as human beings, as mothers, as artists, the dark and the light, the rough and the smooth, the oak tree and the willow tree. We are both of those things. So, yeah.
I think that's really beautiful. And when you were saying before about Adeline's name, what it made me think of is how we do get caught up in comparison, because sometimes we do forget what that seed is of our best intention. Like you said, your whole intention was to give your daughter this beautiful name that would make her interesting, that would, hopefully lead her to this very beautiful life, and she would carry that very thoughtful name with her. And it's the same with anything that we have best intentions around. Photography, motherhood, being a woman, being a friend, being a wife. We can lose that potency of our best intentions, and we've spoken about before in another episode, when things come at us and how we respond to it. And we can lose that best intention because we do compare, or we think, oh, that's not good enough, or it's not what perhaps people want to hear. And then it comes back to us then judging ourselves so harshly because we're like, well, that was my best intention. And maybe that's not the best. Which is really hard. And it means then we have to double down on being kind to ourselves and knowing what our intentions are.
Yeah.
What our best intentions are. and being
Yeah.
true to that in everything. Like occasionally, you know, my intention for taking a photograph is to just be in the garden.
Mm.
And I actually don't care about the photo. I just want to be with my camera and my flowers or
Mm.
the tree or the creek or, you know, like, and I actually don't care about the end result. And quite often I'll just delete them because I can do that.
Mm.
Or I'll put them into Lightroom, but I'll never actually edit them, and they'll just kind of sit there. But for me, my best intention for that day was to just spend time outside with my camera, or just see what I see.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I could judge myself quite harshly on some of the photos because quite often they're not, you know, like you said, you know, you have this intention, there's all this process, and then you have this tangible thing at the end, and you're like, well, that's not how I wanted it to look.
Mm.
But my intention going into that wasn't to have an award-winning photo.
Mm-mm.
It was just to be outside with my flowers, with my camera. And if you then really do judge that photo, you've kind of lost the beautiful best intention that you had going into that session.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the thing is as well with, and I know I harp on about social media a lot. I don't mean to, but
It's not the, it's a part of our life.
it's shaping photography. Like,
Well,
honestly, it totally shapes what
what's
we
his name
do.
was in what's his name was in court the other day because Facebook has changed society so much that, like, he had to go to court because of dreadful, I'm not going to talk about it, but dreadful things that have happened because of social media.
Yeah.
You know, like, how can we not talk about it? Because
Yeah.
everyone's on social media, everyone's on Instagram, everyone's on Facebook, it's a thing. So keep going.
And I think also we did mention that we haven't been mentioning specifically the gap. And actually, I think this is a big gap in terms of why we're creating and how it's being received and how it's being channeled and how we're channeling it and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And also the gap between being that we at the age that we are, we still know what it's like to live without it. You know, the people that know what it's like to live without it are lessening and lessening and lessening.
Yeah.
And we are still a big part of that part of the population that do understand, you know, that gap. But what I was going to say was, it's gone. Hang on. No, it hasn't gone. What were we talking? Oh, yes, I know. So basically about exactly that is, I was photographing a wedding and they said somebody said, should we put some music on? And they're like, yeah, but you can't see them in the photographs. And I'm like, this whole moment is not being created for the photograph. Like, please tell me this whole moment is not being created from the photograph. Like, you know, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Is that is my intention as a photographer. And this is why I really struggle with really set up images.
Yep.
Is because my intention as a photographer is never to, you know, I'm excited about potentially starting to do portraits in the studio space. But that for me, that's almost like a beautiful, strong, because I want to do just black and white, pictorial documentation of what someone looks like right now.
Yep.
But I never want my camera and to be the reason a moment's happening. I'm about, that's why I respond to natural light. That's why I tell stories. That's why I love when colors come together in life in a beautiful way. That is the kind of photographer I am. rather than everything being about me and my camera and how it looks and how I'm like making it happen, basically. And I think that is where sort of social media gets that real sort of like overshadow of, you know, and I get so frustrated because my children watch, you know, TikTok and YouTube, and I'm like, can you stop watching somebody else living their life and live your,
Yes.
like, do you know what I mean? I'm just like, but I'm not really sure where this thread is going, but I've totally lost it.
Well, I want to chime in and go, you know, like the gap. So I want to expand on this gap thing in social media. So, you know, I'm the same. So I've taken time off at the hospital. I do not intend to go back.
Yeah.
So my best intentions for the 16 weeks that I was off, like I'm still getting a sort of partial pay because I have a lot of leave there.
Yeah.
So my best intentions were, you know, build the business, replace the income, you know, all this. And I was saying to Chloe before, I really feel like I've put huge limitations on myself in certain things. And so, you know, we look at social media and think, I'll just put my photo up. I'll, you know, do a couple of posts about what I'm offering, you know, and just put it out there, let people know what I'm doing. And Chloe was mentioning this before, how someone came up to her and was like, I haven't been trying to get in contact with you. I haven't been able to find you. And I think when we come onto social media, we think everyone sees everything. How can they not find us? We're there.
I'm here,
you know,
so why
I'm here. Like, how can you not see me? I feel like I'm shouting in your face.
Yeah.
But, you know, so I'm having a huge gap at the moment. I'll be completely honest. I haven't earned a cent from my business this year. Not a single cent. And, you know, I'm doing the project, which is fine, which will eventually, I won't do the project for free anymore. It will be paid. And the same with my mentoring. And, you know, like Chloe was saying, it's very much, I go in with my best intentions with what I'm creating, and it's not posed, it's showing women who they are now in this moment, celebrating them, highlighting their story. And it's the same with my mentoring. I'm very passionate about women knowing their intentions, knowing their goals, knowing their why, because I feel that's a huge foundation to work from, because it's got so many layers. Like, you have to find out who you are. That's a beautiful thing, but it can be a confronting thing, and it helps you grow and it helps you do better. And, you know, what, as Chloe's mum said, do your best. Well, what is my best? You know, so that's very much along the lines of my mentoring. And I've been very critical over the last couple of days, last couple of weeks actually, and how I'm looking at social media. I've started unfollowing different people. And I've been critical of like what I'm putting out there, because I need to earn money. It can't be light and fluffy anymore. It's got to be engaging. It's got to be like my best for now. And there is a gap. Because I'm like, I want to photograph every woman because I think they're beautiful. I think they're unique. I think they have incredible stories. You know, like, we all have amazing depths to us that we don't know. I want to talk to women in their business about their why, or their, doesn't have to be business, projects, about their why and about their best intentions. And I have been getting frustrated because I'm putting stuff out there and there's crickets. There is literal crickets. And when I'm putting stuff out there, like the project, and I'm loving the project, and I have had people going, oh, it's so cool. And like you said before, another lady, then she reached out and she's like, oh, I'm doing something similar. And then we got talking, we had a beautiful conversation. And then in the end, it was very much like, we recognized we're both doing different things, but for a similar demographic. And that there doesn't need to be comparison because we're doing it in our own way.
Yeah.
And we both come to the conclusion that there can never be enough of these types of projects.
No.
Because different women will come to us. Not the same people are going to come to us.
Yeah.
And it's with those best intentions that we started this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the same with my business. Like, with the best intentions, I'm like, I do want to work with lots of women. I do want to, you know, hold a mirror up to them and go, look how beautiful you are. But there is that gap. Like, in my brain, I'm like, how come people don't want to do this? And it all comes down to, again, like we were talking about in the other episode, how I show up. My messaging, it's up to me to show people what I do. It's not the audience's fault that they're not responding. And it is with my best intentions, but then for me to have results in my business, I need to do better.
Yeah.
It's okay when you look and go, oh, well, that was my best. Well, actually, it probably wasn't. For so many reasons. Yeah. And then it makes me work harder.
Yeah.
To master my craft, to master my photos, to really sit down and look at, well, how am I communicating with my audience? Because as we said in the last episode, you don't need hundreds of thousands. You need a few people that really connect with you. But then why do they connect with you?
Yeah.
And that's up to us.
There's an amazing episode. It's old now. I'm thinking it was Glennon Doyle and Brené Brown.
Oh, yeah.
In conversation.
That'd be a great conversation.
And I can't paraphrase it because I can't exactly remember, because I listened to it a while ago, a couple of years now. And she was talking about how she doesn't try and talk to the hundreds of thousands. She talks to not just one person, because I know a lot of people say you just need to decide who's your one person you're talking to. And I don't. A few different people. But she's like, it's a little bit like, it's a little bit like a religion, right? Like you talk to the congregation that essentially is in front of you, that's engaged with you, that's taken the time to be there with you, that is, going to sit or stand around at the end and have a cup of tea and biscuit with you.
And they're interested.
And be interested and invested. And then those people then go out and essentially spread the word. And that's essentially, it's the same. It's a bit like it's like being a pop star. You have the people that will come to the concert and stand in the concert back to back and not go to the toilet for like 3 hours and do all those things. And then that kind of like, and it's about those beautiful levels of those who are engaged with you, those who will invest with you, those who will talk to you, those who will, and really, there's literally no point trying to win over all the people. But if you really work hard at the core, and like you say, show up, and that's why I share on my Instagram. I share pictures that I shot 4 years ago, and I do all of that sort of stuff because I'm saying I do this. I go back and look at my images, and I look back at what's happening, because that's what I'm encouraging other people to do. And I do it naturally and share it naturally because I'm doing it anyway.
Yes.
And I think that is what's really powerful and really amazing. That half an hour. And there was something else I was going to say, and I can't remember what it is.
Okay.
My memory is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really think. Go on.
Yeah. I think what what I was thinking when you were talking just then was it can be hard for us as women that are creating from our hearts to commercialize it.
Yeah.
We get stuck in,
Yeah.
well, this is from my heart. This is from my heart.
Yeah.
And there's that gap between what we want to create, what we love to create, and charging money for it and creating a business out of it.
Mm.
And like you said, you show the photos from 4 years ago. You show your process. You are always talking about the connections that you're making in the community. You show through the studio even that was such a big goal for you for years, 30 years.
Mm.
And it doesn't have to happen instantly.
No.
Like, it took decades for that to happen for you. But
and even now it's not actually happening the way that I thought it was happening, because I'm only getting there 50% of the time. I'm actually struggling because I'm taking my computer and my screen from home to there because I don't have a laptop. I'm like, I was selling stuff over the summer, but now it's trailed off. There are loads of things. I'm not creating in it like I thought I was, but that's okay.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
Because it's all with your best intention.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, if we're going to do this seriously, like you and I were talking about not being small anymore, not putting limitations on ourselves, if we're going to do it, we do it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
If we want to create a business, create a business.
Mm. Yeah.
Enjoy the process of it.
Mm.
Like, I could literally sit and cry for days at the moment over not just my business, but just like a lot of things. Life is lifing at the moment. Life. It is lifing hard. And as I was saying to Chloe, it's so easy to walk away,
opt out
from your own dream, from your own intention, from your own goal. It is so easy to go and get another job, go and just put all your own dreams on the back burner. Because life's, it's so much easier to numb it out by just going to work or just doing things that are simpler than creating the life that, or the business or the art that you want. Because you have to show up. You have to do the training. You have to look at every best intention that you've got. You have to look at when you're not going to be making any money. You have to then analyze the data of, look at your social media insights, look at the statistics, look at the data. Like, my data at the moment is people are happy to do a project.
Yeah.
Because it's for free. The data at the moment is showing me that stories are the most popular. So it doesn't actually matter how much I post. People don't really look.
Oh, on your feed.
Yep. So they're more interested in a story. And I think because it's quick.
Yeah.
And also too, because perhaps they can hear your voice, or people are looking for that connection of movement. Usually on stories, things are moving.
But also, I find when you're looking at when you're scrolling up through the feed, all you get are ads.
Or if you follow a certain, follow a certain interest, a lot of it looks the same.
Yeah.
And so you're actually not engaging. You're just numbing out.
Yeah.
And it's, I could go on about it forever, about continually just having to come back to yourself, continually figuring out why you're doing this, why are you putting yourself through this? Is it for money? Is it for security? Is it for freedom? Is it to be with your kids more? Is it to work from home? Is it to survive? Is it to,
Yeah.
what is it to? You know? And there is a gap in what our best intentions are and the result.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you said before, you go into these photo sessions with the best intentions and the result is not what you want. So then you go back and you start again.
Yeah.
But that takes stamina and it takes courage and it takes, effort.
Mm.
And you have to be solid in your best intention and your like, why are you doing it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it will, you will make a difference, and people are comparing themselves to you on the internet. They're looking at you and they're like, God, look at all the stuff she's doing. She must be so successful. She must be making heaps of money. Look at all she's doing.
You're not talking about me.
Oh, we're talking about everybody.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure I look at people on the internet and I'm like, I bet you she's having a great time.
Yeah.
But we don't know everyone's stories because, especially if you're creating a business, I don't put a lot of stuff on the internet.
No.
I put on there what I want.
You have to also appear successful to be successful.
You have to appear to be, dress for the job that you want, like you said before.
Yeah.
And it's a form of sustainability.
Mm.
And we also then have to come back to, well, my best intentions might be this, but what is sustainable for my actual mental, physical, emotional health?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because
exactly.
that always needs to be the best intention.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly right, because my best intention, it was to open my studio, to be there. But I have two still relatively small children. One was sick last week, one's at home today. The house is a mess. I've got two animals, one that needs running twice a day. I also have a photography business. And so my best intention and continues that I will be there when I can be there, and I will be there probably 50% of the time that one would expect someone to be in a high street space.
Yep.
Because core hours, I mean, it's high street. So yeah, and I think that's the thing, is that I am, and I guess edging towards 50, I'm at that stage where and having gone through all the different things that I've gone through, whether it's acute illness, whether it is marriage separation, financial destitution, all of those things, relocating, I'm like, do you know what? Actually, my best intention is to be there as much as I can. And I will be there as much as I can. And I'm going to listen to anything anybody says.
Yep.
Because I actually spoke about this in both my mentoring sessions last week, is that much like, so I'm paying the rent. I'm paying the electricity bill.
Yep.
I have put my work up there.
Yep.
No one has given me any money to do any of it.
Hmm.
I am in it with an artist. She's in it 20%, but she again she's like not in there, but it's a space sharing her work. And so I will be there when I can be there.
Yeah.
If people are buying tickets to come at 10 o'clock on a Thursday and I'm not there at 10 o'clock on a Thursday, then at that point, I'm totally on board with the criticism.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
Yep.
But again, it's like social media. No one is paying us to produce images. No one is paying us to share them. No one is paying us to show up and have conversations. People are paying me for my Substack, so I will show up and share and be there and be my best self. But I think it's really important to remember when we talk about best intentions, how that is structured. Yes. That's why when I shared my reel of the underwater, and my friend sent me those images, and we were talking about them. I'm like, who really cares if they're not as good as mine? I'm not, circling back to what we were talking about at the beginning. They were your best pictures and best intentioned pictures of capturing your moment in Wales with this beautiful water. I'm not
exactly.
Who am I to judge?
And it's
I'm not saying that they're not as good as mine.
It's their life.
Yeah.
That is their best intention.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's like you said, like they're not selling it. They're not selling a service. They're not selling a product. It was something that moved them at the time.
Yeah. Beautiful. So
how beautiful is
beautiful.
that? Maybe if we did go old school, and remember when you just used to share on Facebook because you loved it?
Yeah.
It didn't matter what it was. It didn't have to be, I don't know, whatever. But you shared it because you loved it.
Yeah. There was no global judgment on pigeonholing people. Honestly. Oh, it's like you show too much, then you're a show off. You dance too much, you know.
Yeah.
Honestly, I went for a walk dance the other day. And I'll probably do it again. I took my dog for a walk and I danced. I had my headphones in.
Oh my God, I love that.
I was dancing.
Oh, I love that.
Crazy dancing. I was knackered by the end of it. I did half an hour. It was like a workout. And as I was dancing, I was like, why don't we dance more? Jesus, I miss it. I love dancing at university. I was like, why is it this one thing that actually has this, in some ways like art, because it's an art form, but like art, if you dance, it's judged.
Yeah.
It
makes me think of, I was having this really when I start writing, I had to give up writing the other day with pen and paper, because I type faster. And so when I need to get stuff out, I need to type. And I do try and write with my hand a lot because it is much more therapeutic. But anyway, I had to type. And this thought kept coming to me the whole time of you have to change the terrain, And then it started coming out of you have to move different to see different results. And you have to, you can't do the same thing and expect a different result. And it really made me think of just not even in our business, but I do yoga all the time. So I will still do yoga, but I've halved what I do. And now I'm doing Pilates and bar work and it does shift how you think and how you move. And when we're creating our businesses or our art or whatever, home, children, we can get really stuck in those pathways.
Yeah.
And so what came out of that writing for me the other day was change the terrain, change the movement.
I love that.
Do something different in your day, change up the schedule, or like yesterday, I did the mowing and Scott cooked dinner. And we both felt actually really refreshed from reversing those roles.
Yeah.
I loved mowing. It was pouring rain. At one point, it was pouring rain, and Scott's yelling at me to come inside. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. I was laughing my head off and mowing and whatever. And we had family dinner on the Sunday night. And, he cooked dinner and, it was lovely. And just to switch it up a bit.
I'm terrible for that, though. I will always try and do things differently, which is why I'm not very good at being a solo parent, because there are so many things that I have to do. I do things that, I'll take different routes when I drive.
Yep.
And I definitely agree with that. And actually, I notice it when I'm in my studio as well. People will walk in, and then I'll be sitting down and I'll be talking to them, and then I'll force myself to get up out of my chair and walk over and and the energy shift, and then the interest level, and then the same all of that physical body language and everything. Yeah.
So
Best
interesting.
intentions.
And obviously we could talk forever because now we've gone for 46 minutes.
Yeah. But also, this is just another example. We started with our best intention of being half an hour, and then we did our after 30. And now, actually, the last couple of episodes, we're now sort of sitting somewhere in between.
Yep.
And I think that that's a really lovely place to land.
Yes.
So whether this is the new norm or whether we should go back, then that's fine. You know, we are at the moment, I think maybe this is a comfortable place to be. So.
And it comes back to our best intentions of showing up and having a conversation. Doesn't really matter how long it goes for.
No.
And when we're in the flow, like it's beautiful to just keep going.
Yeah. And what I would like to say as we finish is that we've been receiving some really lovely feedback from a few people about how you're enjoying the conversations. Someone said that it feels like they're part of something really intimate and personal, and that's really, really engaging for them rather than necessarily something that's polished and perfect and, you know, destined to thousands and thousands of ears. We are here as us, and we show up as ourselves with our best intentions, and we are so grateful for you listening and for being here too. So now we've got to episode 10. Yes, we will.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you. And do share it with anybody who you think might enjoy it or who maybe needs it. And yeah, so all right, thanks very much. Bye.